All right, well, I guess I'll take over. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the July 27th, 2022 CalPADS Q&A. My name is Paul Higgins. I'm a data analyst working at CSIS, supporting CalPADS. For announcements, we have two flashes that have come out in the last week, 229 and 230. They're not up on the communications page yet, but you should have received them via email or have them delivered elsewhere. 229 is a replacement for Flash 184 and updates the work-based learning guidance. So you should take a look at that to see the new guidance, and do not rely on Flash 184 any longer. Flash 230 is just an update to the workable CDDs that are available, and this is an evolving list. So this was the most recent as of that time. Angela, do you want to bring us up to date on bugs and releases?
Yeah, unfortunately, I just got the handoff from the dev and test team to update the problem ticket. So what you see in the current known issues list is not up to date. So look for fix available in the status column, and those are the ones that that got deployed, but we just haven't updated all the people that are associated with those tickets just yet. So we will do that after this meeting. And then if you want to, can I steal your screen, Alex? What is coming up in the next release, which is next Tuesday. This list will grow, but as of this moment, these are the items that are either done with testing or currently in testing, and so are likely going to make it into the release on Tuesday. I'll leave that up. And that was the extent of my announcements.
Very good. Thank you, Angela. We'll just go ahead and jump right into the chat box right now, and we'll start out with Sue-Ann. Hi, Sue-Ann. Her question is, should a district change their E156 exit codes for returning 12th grade students to E155 to remove them from the ACGR dropout list? If that is the solution for districts to reduce their dropout numbers, why is the E156 code in there in the first place? No. E156 was added this year to differentiate them from the E155s because the E156 is only available for 12th graders and 12th graders with multiple years, I guess. Super seniors, students with disabilities on transitional services is what it's used for. As for the ACGR question, changing that E156 to a 155 would not change them from a dropout, nor would it remove them from the cohort membership they're in. The cohort reports where a student is at the end of the 4-year window, regardless of whether they're a graduate or not. Reducing the dropout rate would involve just adding more graduates because it's a binary decision at the federal level. Are they a graduate? Are they not a graduate? So the data we provide on the 15.1 and 15.2 are much more granular than what is delivered to the feds. The feds are told, these are the E23100s, here's everyone else. We take everyone else and break them out into their various buckets, so that way you have additional information about where your students ended up at the end of their 4-year window. Okay, moving on.
Hold on, just to add to that, she got some bad info from the service desk, and so I did see your email, Sue-Ann, and I apologize, I haven't responded yet. She sent it to me last night, and it's been a day, so you were on my to-do list before the end of the day.
I also wanted to add, I wonder if the dropouts would be still enrolled and they're just missing a subsequent enrollment for the 22-23.
That would be the other way. Yes, I apologize. I should have gone into that. If your E156 students are returning next year, the data entry to get their subsequent enrollment, next year's enrollment or this year's enrollment into CalPADS has to happen before end of year closes. And the enrollment start date has to be on or before census day. Once that's entered into the system, the 15.1, 15.2 should flip them from dropout to still enrolled. And then post-processing, if once the end of year completes, the data reporting team also will parse that data, looking to make sure that all of those still enrolled students are actually enrolled past census day. So there is some manipulation of the data after the fact to filter out students who may have anticipated returning and were identified as still enrolled, but then left before census day, at which point they will flip back to dropout. So a few nuances in there, but you can reduce the dropout count by making them still enrolled. Okay, Richard, hi. Laura, I have 42 Sprig 254 errors. Can I just fix manually, or do I need to wait for the fix? I have NSLP showing duplicates and I can't just delete the incorrect duplicate. Also, will any of these defects cause any issues if we get audited? Okay, so Sprig 254 is identified as a CDD defect. So I would say at this point, hold off and wait for the system to actually reflect that as operational before you start working on them.
Another reason too is when they share the same primary key, if you delete one, it deletes the other, and then you end up having nothing. So you're better off waiting for us to fix it.
Perfect, thank you, Martha. Cedric, we are having a hard time calculating the days of suspension and or expulsion for some of our students. For example, we have students who are pending expulsion but have a short-term enrollment at a juvenile court school. Do we count those days at the juvenile court school as suspended or not? What if the student was at a county community day school?
Cedric, the suspension should only be the days that the student was removed from their instructional setting. So they're not receiving any instructional services. So in that case, it's just the duration of the time the student was actually out of school. Was there another question in there?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm scrolling ahead looking at questions. 301, Laura, I see your Q2. Elsa, 301, I understand that the correct way to code a summer grad is to add a one-day enrollment to CALPADS using the summer graduation date. But then what encode should I use for the last day of school? E23360, 155, 156. Well, if they're a graduate, your coding is going to be E23100. And it really depends on when that summer school grad happened as to whether or not you need to create a one-day enrollment or whether you can just not close their enrollment until that point. And that point goes all the way up to 8/15, August 15th. You could keep that 21-22 enrollment open all the way up to 8/15 if it could get them their E23100. So I'm not sure why you're wanting to code a graduate with a 360 or a returning code. But if they're a graduate, what's that?
The last day of school. So they have to exit the student at the end of the year. So she's saying, how do I exit them at the end of the year if I'm creating a subsequent summer enrollment and exiting that summer enrollment as a grad? She's asking what is the initial exit code she should use.
I got you. Perfect. So in this case, if the student has completed their grad requirements prior to 8/15, I would just use the original enrollment and not create the subsequent one. I would just extend their year up to July or August, whenever they finished. I hope that helps. If not, please open a ticket and put my name on it. Let's see, Eric at 302. We have a student on an ISP in a private school that we conducted IEPs and offered services, but parents declined. Are we supposed to report this student or not? If we do, should it be a non-ADA enrollment, and what exit codes do we use at the end of the school year?
So from what I'm understanding, the student is already on an active ISP, and what it sounds like is the district annually is making an offer of faith to offer services at a private school. That's what I'm interpreting it as, Eric. And what you're asking is, do we have to must we report that offer a FAPE? And the answer is no. If the student is or the parents are electing to keep the students on the ISP, you don't have to report that annual offer of FAPE to CalPADS.
All right, thank you, Brandy. Charlene at 303. Q1, when combining SSIDs, does CalPADS keep the one that's requested first or the one with an early enrollment start date? I requested an SSID for a kindergartner on 6/24. After the mid was resolved, our SSID was retired to the one with the earlier start date. As of today, we have a total of 59 mids. I can only access the mids on the first and second pages. I cannot access the third page. Yes, when mids are merged, it is the SSID that was created earlier or has the earlier enrollment start date that is retained. The later SSID is retired and merged into the original SSID. I don't know what to say about page 3 of the mids.
So the nuance there, we're using the enrollment start date to determine which one to retain, not when it was obtained. If you know what I mean. When was the ID issued versus when was the student start date? And I believe the mids use the enrollment start date. So even though
correct.
You asked for it on Monday, the other person asked for it on Friday, and they had an earlier start date, their ID is what's going to be kept because it goes by start date.
Thank you for that. Terry, I have tried to mark a few mids as different, but there is no post button. So I've asked the other district to do it, but they are not able to do it either. Is this a known issue? Yes, it was reported, and I don't recall the number.
Well, not what she's describing exactly. One person should be able to access it. So normally, if you don't have that post button, you want to go to the Focus SSID ownership filter and select Reporting LEA. That's what it's called, yeah, Reporting LEA, and then apply filters, and that will zero it into the ones that you can take action on. For the other LEA not being able to, the only thing I think of is maybe they don't have the right role for it. And if they're not able to, and meaning nobody can combine, there might be something else going on, and we would need a ticket for that.
Alrighty, moving on to Asya 305. Flash 230 says CRSC 0123 is now okay to work on, but I still have some errors that do not look correct. Is the CRSC ready to be worked on? I believe that this is still an active bug and it was included on Flash 230 erroneously. That was my understanding.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, Charlene, see your Q2. 306. Wendy, what is the status of the SPRIC 70? Last meeting, Martha said it was part of what was fixed, but part of it wasn't fixed. I noticed that it was not on the current things going up for the developers to fix.
That was part of yesterday's release. So it should be cleared up now. Wendy, are you still seeing erroneous SPRG 70s, or are you just waiting for the official word?
Should be waiting for new revisions.
Yeah, that might be it. Check the date. If it's for 7/26 or at least late on 7/20, yeah, late on 7/26. It could be you just need a new revision. So they are running really slow. So we apologize. I noticed that there not as many revisions got created as we were anticipating.
All right, Sue-Ann, I see your question 2. Maria 307, I have a few online submissions that are taking a very long time to process, about 45 minutes. Is this a known issue?
Oh, yeah, I just alerted the developers to that and I haven't heard back. I see a lot of people are stuck in the standardized step. I want to say when I checked about a half hour ago, it was like 500 jobs. So something is stuck, Maria. Keep an eye out on that.
Okay, Kara, 308, for special education data, can we begin to submit data for IEP meetings held after July 1st? We had many transactions and we'll have more in the next months or in the next month. Well, depending on the student's status, you could be uploading it now based on the relaxed GER 5 over the summer. But if they're new to your LEA and you have not uploaded their 22-23 enrollment yet, you'll not be able to post SPED data for them. But if they were enrolled with you last year or exited with a code indicating they were returning E155 or E156, then you can upload SPED data over the summer because that coding allows for SPED data to be allowed in so long as there was an enrollment in the prior academic year at the same LEA and school. Val, 308.
You go on.
Sorry?
Before you, so Angela, because of some of the existing SPED issues, is there the potential if they start sending up SPED records, they could receive certification data discrepancies that look like they are affecting this year's cert? And if that's true, and Martha, this question is for you as well, are we advocating that they start doing that already?
So I think you're referring to the academic year, and we're still
Yeah.
trying to work through that in determining how do you identify a SPED data discrepancy in the appropriate year so that you're not generating a certification data discrepancy on a future year in the current EOY that we're dealing with. I don't know the answer to that, Brandy. I don't know if Angela, I think we're still working on that solution.
Yeah.
So if you can wait, you're better off. But you know, if you're a gambler and you want to roll the dice.
So something requirements figured out was that a possible issue that we're having is that the scope of end of year goes past July 1, and that, you know, we have to, and in cohort, so we have to look through August 15th. So maybe that's why they're still digging, but so potentially, I don't know, I can't answer that either.
I mean, but if you have squeaky clean data, then, you know, sure, go ahead. But, you know, I think what Brandy is trying to warn folks is that in working on the 22-23 SPED data, it could potentially impact data that's in the EOI. That you'll have discrepancies that you have to fix for this EOY, even though this data isn't for that year, it's for the 22-23 year.
Right, and I guess my point, Kara, is because those July 1, anything held after July 1 is not really pertinent to the current year submission, and I know you want to get them sent up. If you want to avoid potentially putting data in there that are going to inadvertently affect your end of year certifications, then if you can avoid it, don't.
Don't do it, not mean don't avoid it, just don't do it.
Right, yeah, don't send it. Sorry.
Imprecise language, Brandy, it'll kill us all. Val Parkin at 308, end of year 4, special education view certification error report in Excel does not seem to match up with the certification summaries, fatal and warnings on the same page. Am I missing something? Well, up on the screen, you'll see PM 6227, which is the certification error report, not pulling all cert fatals and warnings. So it is a known issue, and we are working on it. The reliable source seems to be the UI, the on-screen display, not the exported Excel version or the exported version.
Can I tack onto that, Paul? Val,
Absolutely.
if you wouldn't mind putting in a ticket and ask for me, Angela. I think that should be fixed, and the PM's just the problem management ticket is just lagging behind a little bit. And so if you have an example for me to refer to, that would be helpful so I can notify the developer that it's still outstanding.
And we would want to know too the revision date of, you know, if it was something old or something recent. That makes a difference too. The timing of when the report was created.
Cedric, see your Q2. CJ 308, I'm having a hard time getting my 22-23 enrollments going. What's the best way to get this done? Not a lot to go on there. Are you experiencing errors? Are you getting rejected records, rejected files?
I think the one by one, she doesn't want to necessarily generate mids, and so looking kids up and then the names not matching perfectly, it's cumbersome. Right? Isn't Angela, don't we have this ticket, CJ?
What's the timestamp on the question?
308.
CJ Billing. You definitely have to have new processes in place because the old way of getting IDs is gone, right? And so either you send up the file with the blank SSIDs and we give you brand new ones, and then you proceed to resolve them as a mid, or you try to look ahead of time for what's the right SSID, or if kids are coming to you from another district, you ask for the SSID. But to do a lookup, sometimes you don't find matches because of the names are different.
Yeah, and then we are introducing the SSID matching tool shortly, within about a week, right?
2 weeks, maybe.
So that would be another option, is to wait for that and see if that is a more efficient tool for you.
All right. Q1 from Kelly at 309. I was contacted by another district with a request to correct a primary language code on an EO record because it was causing an error for them. The record is old. It dates back to 2013. I thought the old solid records were all swept.
No, they weren't deleted, unfortunately.
Should have made him start all over, Brandy.
Right.
Go through our current validation rules.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly, I think I probably would need more information on this. If you want to submit a ticket, just put my name on it. I can look at the specific SSID and try to figure out why potentially that's causing an issue.
All right, and looks like Elsa replied with regard to the question above, and looks like the student got their E230 100 on July 27th. So again, I would just extend that enrollment out from whenever they started and just end it on July 27th without having to create a secondary enrollment in there anywhere. And not secondary as enrollment status, just a subsequent enrollment. See, imperfect language will get us all. Yadira at 311. What is the correct process for a legal name change for a student for our SIS and how we report it to CALPADS? Well, you need to get the documentation to support it in your hands, whether that's a revised birth certificate, a court order, whatever it is. You need something in your hands demonstrating why you're changing it. Then you go into your SIS, change it. In CALPADS, you have to go in to the SINF for the record for the effective date of that change. Wherever it fell, you create a new SINF record on that date using the new information, new name, gender, whatever it is. You put it in there as the revised, and you have to post, if there are multiple changes, if there was the first name and last name changed, they went from, Bob Smith to John Jones. Now you're going to have to change the legal first name, post that record. Then you go back in and on that same record, change the last name, post that change. If you try and do two changes and post it at once, you're going to fail. So it's one at a time, one data element at a time, posted in online maintenance. I hope that helps. Ethan at 311, are you anticipating any improvements to the CERT snapshot refresh times? I've been running into issues where I can't diagnose an error or think I've discovered a new over-triggered CDD, but it ends up being because the CERT snapshot is 24 hours old and not reflecting the extract data I posted yesterday. Love, love, love the faster extract posting times, but a 2-day cert snapshot / CDD refresh timing is slowing down my workflow a lot, and I'm feeling a little bit like old CalPads. I'm learning to check the snapshot / CDD date stamps first thing, but curious if you think we could maybe make this, maybe able to expect regular overnight cert snapshot refreshers in the future. We can always hope. You know, obviously, this redesign was done with increasing the speed and performance of CalPads. Uploading the data has gotten there. You know, they're clocking an average of 45 seconds for files, which of course spans a range from 10 seconds to 45 minutes. And then, you know, it averages out at 45 seconds. So we're doing good on that. As you say, the refreshes are not as good. And the CDD addition onto it, which is now a separate process and is lagging 24 hours behind the cert snapshot, is problematic. I know that the architecture teams and everybody who's at the management level over this is aware of it, and they're not happy, and they are working on it. But I have no details and no predictions for the future at this point. Angela, 311, are there any updates or ETA on the planned short-term solution from Flash 221 regarding SSID match process and CalPads that is separate from the file submission process? That is the SSID tool that Martha had referenced that should be released in anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks from now. And it will be, where is it? There it is. Yes, that should provide some additional functionality to make things go better. Yeah, hopefully soon.
It's scheduled to be released on August 9th. And we have sent your student information system vendors the output for it. We will be releasing a flash with details about this specific tool. Is called the SSID matching tool. So where to find it, what the general workflow is. So a flash will be coming out about that probably, if not by the end of this week, by the beginning of next week, just to kind of give you guys a heads up.
Thank you, Brandy. Veronica, 311, the total number of students on my 16.1 report isn't calculating correctly. When I add up the total students by disability, I get 2,384, but the report generates a total of 2,882. All other reports in the 16 series reflect the correct totals of 2,834. Is this a glitch, or is there a student being counted from elsewhere that I'm not aware of? Up on the screen, you'll see that there's a high priority bug in the work 6273 that is regarding the 16.1 and 16.2 reports. I'm sorry, the 1611.
Yeah,
sorry.
this isn't the one. I thought we had one.
Yeah, I thought we did too. I thought that was the one.
Did we create one just today?
Well, that was on the 16, that was that one right there, the 16.11 and 16.2 with the 16.1 and 16.2 match, but they don't match with the 16.11. So that's not related to what she's talking about.
Well, I was hoping that it was a bug, but if Veronica, obviously I don't have an answer right off the top of my head. So if you want to put in a ticket, please do. We will look into that and dig in and see why there's a 2-person difference there, or a 2-student difference. Jackie at 311, Q1, is there any time frame on the update for the 6052 known issue? In the meantime, I'm looking for a workaround. Do I add a new enrollment? I'm sorry, my screen just flipped. Do I add a new enrollment record for the Focus SSID since all of my data is missing due to the known issue? Can I move forward with reporting, or should I be removing individual lines of data from all of my files to avoid erroring out each time?
That bug is partially fixed. The problem that was causing the data to get lost in some instances is gone. You should never have that happen again. And I would say about 80% of the students got cleaned up. There's a fraction out there of kids that are still have some orphan data that needs to be cleaned up. And so they are still working on that. I'm curious what error you're getting. And I might need to look at the SSID with you. If you could put in a ticket and ask for Angela, I will work with you and see if we can figure out a workaround for you.
All right, moving on to Laura at 313. We have a 12th grade student who left in March to do to a foreign country and then returned for summer school and finished enough credits to be a graduate. If I enroll the student for one day, say July 22nd, will I get an error if I don't have an attendance and a course? Well, it would be reported in the 22-23 academic year. So if you have a one-day enrollment, you would have to have attendance data next summer or next.
You could do
end of
an
year.
exemption for a one-day enrollment. You can do an exemption,
Well,
exception, or whatever it is.
And if they're a primary enrollment, would they need course data for end of year next year?
I think it's a warning.
Yeah, it is a warning.
Looks like you're good to go. Looks like you should be able to do that. I am curious what this will do to the cohort, because if you exited them as I think T200 is leaving the US, that removes them from the cohort. So I guess they wouldn't even be counted for the cohort because they would have a T200 effective at the end of the reporting window, which would pull them out, and then the 722 would be in the next academic year.
Wouldn't that overrule it though because of the 8/15 date?
It won't. It's not the end of the reporting window. So it's 8/15 for the.
Yeah, but if they create the 722, that's going to be in the 22-23 academic year. It's not like they're extending a 21-22 enrollment. They're creating a native 22-23 enrollment. So it will be after the T200. And the T200, it's not as of 8/15, but I'm curious as to what that will do to the cohort. So I would like to be in the loop on that. So Laura, as you do that, I'd like to know what your 15.2 says about that student.
Yeah, that would be interesting because my presumption is that that student would actually show up as a graduate.
Ideally, yes.
They should show up as a graduate for the 21-22 cohort. And if they're not showing up as a graduate for that cohort, then just submit up a ticket so we can figure it out.
Yep. All right, moving on. 313, Stephanie. Q1 working on end of year 3. My STAS has 35 errors. I've missed some meetings, so I'm trying to figure out if this is an upgrade to fix or can I manually fix these somehow? And she included the various errors, 303, 306, 308, 309, 310, and 318. So what are on the CDD available to work on? Are these included in there? I don't recall.
I think they all are available. There's none that I thought there was only one of them. STAS 314. I'm not.
Well, those are the ones that they can work on, right? All the others.
So all the ones listed on the page in front of you can be worked on. The ones you're identifying,
but they're not on the
DDs. Are they even DDs? Data discrepancies.
Are they just IVRs?
Oh, they're IVRs.
Oh, okay. That makes a difference.
And how do you know that? How can we help explain that situation? You look at the error list.
And if there's an X in the input validation column, that means that it's going to trigger on input and it can reject your files and everything else. If it's in the data discrepancy side, it's going to allow the data in, but it will also then trigger a data discrepancy in the system, alerting you that there's going to be a CDD, a certification data discrepancy, on that same error. If that submission rolls around and you haven't remedied it, it's going to appear on your submission.
So the fact that these are input validations and we don't have a known issue on them, then you're expected to fix the data if you want to get it into CALPADS. It'll hold up your whole file. And then maybe it's one student that's generating all of these errors. I don't know.
It kind of sounds like to me that maybe, because remember we had some vendors had to update their SAS calculation. And so I wonder if maybe you don't have the latest version of your SIS. So just double check that.
All right. Charlene was getting clarification on the mid-merge stuff, and it is the enrollment start date then. Yes, the earlier enrollment start date is going to be the record that is retained. Brenna at 3:15. I'm sorry I'm late. My phone rang right at 3. What announcements were made at the beginning of the meeting? We had a couple flashes and talked about bugs. You know, the usual. We have 2 new flashes out there, 229 and 230. They are not on the communications page yet, but they will be soon. Lou is looking for, she logged in late as well, and is looking for potential fixes for Tuesday's release. And I think Angela had the short list on that one. All right, 316, Ray, Q1 for ELs with language instructional programs. When a student exits a school, do we need to close the record with an exit date matching the enrollment and enter a new LIP record for the new school with the same school enrollment start date of the new school? I believe that the LIP program is a school level program. So yes, if they are still receiving that instructional program assistance and they're part of that, that needs to show up at the new school using the new enrollment date.
And it doesn't actually have to be the new enrollment date. It can be the date that they actually began the program, because these are treated like eligibility records. So if they've been in a newcomer program for 2 years and they initially entered the newcomer program, you know, in a prior school, they can use that date. So those programs are treated like eligibility. So it can be the new start date at the new school. It doesn't have to be. It could be the earlier start date.
Okay. 317, Jamie, I still show my Sprig 70 and 77s.
We're still working on them.
And
well,
so does
no, it should have been
Gita
fixed
as
for
well.
that. It was supposed to be fixed.
Oh, the
So,
revisions behind.
yeah, so check your revision. So I looked at Wendy's. She reported that earlier, the same thing. She was right on the cusp, right at 4 p.m. yesterday. So a little suspicious of that revision. So I asked her to wait for one more just to see if that clears it. It could have been running while the deployment was happening. And so then it's hard to know if they're valid or not.
But we have to clear the DDs have to run, right? They have to get refreshed, and then the revision has to get refreshed after the DDs get refreshed. So it's like taking longer.
Which is back to Ethan's point, right?
Yes.
And Gita has the same issue with the Sprig 70 and 77. Ethan, I see your Q2 at 318. Nancy Baum, 318, Q1, can you please explain what the file status standardizing and standardized are and when they come into play? On the end of year 3 reporting and cert training slide, they're listed after posting, which doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, they are. They are not done after posting. It's all standardizing is just making sure you're using the correct format, using that every field is using the correct number of characters and not exceeding it. You have the basic formatting type of stuff. It's standardizing the file. And then once it passes that standardized test, well, actually, if it fails standardizing, it will kick it back, rejecting the entire file, telling you what your formatting and general errors are that you need to fix. Then if you fix those correctly, you upload it, it goes through the standardization process, then it hits the staging portion. Is it staging? Oh, it's good. Oh, good, it's up on the screen. Yes, it hits the staging portion, at which point now it's actually looking at the data. So it's not just looking at, is it using the correct number of characters in that field? Does it have an invalid character? Does it have this? Does it? Now it's actually looking at the data in the fields and getting it staged so that the validations can be run. Then it runs through all the validations, and if it fails the validations portion, it gets kicked back with the validation errors. But if it passes the validations, it goes straight into posting and then goes to post-ed. So yeah, the sequencing on that slide may have been off because the standardizing is the first step.
And I would say, we did have a problem that it got stuck, because normally you don't see those statuses. Your posting happens so fast, it posts or it rejects. But today, I think something got stuck, so everybody was sitting in standardized.
Now people are stuck and validated. It's just
Progress?
inching along.
Yeah.
So we're keeping an eye on it for you guys.
All right, moving on to Sean at 318. Student is age 5 with an IEP and has only been enrolled in preschool, SPED with the prior LEA. Based upon the indicators from CDE kindergarten in California, this student would be enrolled in kindergarten for the 22-23 academic or school year. Is there any Fed IDEA regulation that would allow us to enroll the student in a TK program age 5 for 22-23 and kindergarten age 6 for 23-24? Well, being TK, they are technically kindergartners. TK is a program, so their enrollment would have to be in kindergarten. So if they are age 5, that's
So,
still
is
valid.
Joe on?
If yeah, Joe, there you go.
So if
Joe,
they're age
okay.
5 in go ahead, Brandy.
Well, so if you can, preschools can for students on IEPs can be extended up to age 6, right?
For several circumstances, yeah, it could be done with that. But as you know, we are using age as a parameter for maintaining preschool age identified students. So right now for our LRE or early childhood, it's preschool age 3 to 5, not in kindergarten.
Got it. Okay.
So for school age, as Paul pointed out, I mean, if you are age 5 and in kindergarten, you're basically a school age student. That's part of the new revision with the LRE submission.
And Sean, if additionally what you're asking is, can you enroll a 5-year-old student in a TK program? The transitional kindergarten FAQs do give information about enrolling age 5 students into TK, and I believe it's fine.
Okay, let's move on. Hope at 319. I have an SPRG 0249 for EOI2, 446 of them, as a matter of fact. How do you suggest we resolve? I am unable to delete SPRG records.
Wait for a fix.
Wait for the fix. Yeah, up on screen, Alex just pulled up the problem 6239, duplicate program records causing SPRG 0249 CDDs. So Hope, just have to be a little bit patient on this one. I apologize. Leilani at 319, is there a way to get on the home screen of CalPADS under important messages that the date of the last update of the CalPADS database can be noted?
It's
So like the ODS refresh, or not
It's-
refresh, but
yeah.
the nightly.
every Tuesday between 12 and 1. It's pretty consistent right now. I think that's what she's asking, right? Deployments.
Oh. The last update of the CalPADS database. Huh.
Yeah, I didn't read it that way either, Martha.
Oh, well, all right. It's the second Q&A in a row where we've all had a different interpretation of a question.
So every night we move a copy of the ODS into the ODS reporting area. And I don't know if that's what you're referring to, Leilani. Other than Angela's, we do a weekly release on Tuesday afternoon. So hopefully either one of those answers your question.
We're very nuanced around here. Eva at 321, are there any plans for the student assessment container to return, or was that removed permanently?
I think the decision was to permanent, right, Brandy?
Yeah, I think they're going to permanently remove it, aside from the fact that there's already a defect associated with it. And you know what? I just wanted to clarify, though, that you should be able to get assessment. I mean, the assessment results that were in CalPADS were SELT results. And we did not have any new assessment data in there. So if you want assessment results for students, you can request them through TOMS.
Alrighty, I see the Q2s from Asya, Kelly, and Yadira. We'll come back to those. Tammy, 323, I'm still having trouble manually entering a seed through online maintenance, but I don't see it anywhere associated with the known issue. Is this being looked at? And yes, there is
6172.
Thank you. 6172 is reporting this. So the problem does exist. It's just a little farther down on the list.
And it is in the backlog for the Tuesday release. Whether or not developers and testers can get to it is another story, but it is in the queue in the near future.
But there's a workaround too, right?
Yeah, and the workaround is to send up the staff demographic record in a batch file.
You could use the batch template to quickly populate it.
And the SDEM is not full replacement, correct?
Correct. It's effective date processing.
Right. Richard at 324, I am not sure if this has been discussed. Is there a fix for issue 6224 with Sync 499? That is expected to be pushed out next week. I haven't noticed correspondence on that one. Thank you.
It's scheduled for next week. Yeah, next Tuesday.
Okay. Terry, I see your Q2. Lou is talking to you, Angela. She submitted a ticket with the UI insert error report reflecting different errors for the most recent end of year 3 reports. So you should be seeing that. And she provided the ticket number. Yeah,
so I just heads up to everybody else. I verified that while we were on the call here, and it's kind of scary. The UI is correct, Lou. It's the report that's wrong, that the Sync 497s are supposed to be retired. They weren't even supposed to be implemented in the first place. So please filter those out when you download your 1.0 certification report. They should not be in there. But then Lou says Sync 453. I saw Alex grabbed your ticket. Lou, I'm going to steal it from her and I'll take a look at it.
Alrighty. Sean at 325 is thanking you, Angela, for the SSID tool.
Oh, that was not me.
Thank Brandy.
No, we're associating you with it.
Brandy is the one that pushed that along.
Yes, Brandy's the ringleader, and then there's a CDE developer working on
But
it.
don't blame me if it goes wrong. Please.
We won't, Brandy.
Yeah, and it's again the minimal viable product, right? It's not going to have a lot of bells and whistles on the first push out, but it's going to at least give you a way to get SSIDs without creating NIDs.
Okay, Val, see your Q2, Gita 325. I'm getting a Cert 99 for a few students. I do not know what I need to be fixing. They were missing school code that I had updated them and saw them in my SCSC extract, but I still get those errors for the same students. Can we look at one student to understand what has gone wrong and let me know how to fix the same? Student course section data, primarily enrolled.
I don't know if maybe the course and this SCSC get out of sync with each other. That if you are you sure you have a course record for them, for the student's course completion record? You may have to send us a ticket, so we can look into it.
All right, Cedric responded to CJ. Lisa, 326, with regard to the comment to refrain from submitting 22-23 SPED data, is CDE going to be pulling meeting data to start the new academic year? If so, LEAs will need to submit data to CALPADS.
I think that's a Joe question about, and it probably has to do with monitoring.
So we pretty much actually, we're not doing any monitoring currently, Brandy. So that's good news because we're obviously considering what's happening with the rest of the issues with confounding CalPAS right now. So that is still in, in suspension right now. I mean, I wouldn't use suspension, but we're not doing it yet.
Paused. It's paused.
So please continue using, still, working with your font consultants and your, using the reports that we have in CalPAS to obviously monitor and obviously use your SED system to, in fact, actually that is the primary purpose of using your, your SED system to monitor your students' timeliness.
Okie dokie. That was Lisa. Angela, 326. Last Wednesday, I submitted a ticket and I was wondering if it had been picked up yet. Looking at that ticket number, it looks like it was assigned over to Brandy.
So it is in Brandy's queue, but in your defense, Brandy, you weren't tagged in it. So CSIS folks, whenever you're sending something to Brandy, make sure you tag her so she gets an email. She doesn't spend as much time as we do in the service desk tool. So that way it shows up in her inbox.
Okay, I will look at it. Sorry, Angela. Both Angelas.
And if I did that, I apologize for not.
It was you, Paul, but
you.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No, I know that I assigned Brandy 1 or 2, and I usually tag her, but sometimes you forget to press the button. So I do apologize. Moving on, Richard, I see your Q2. Okay, thank you, Richard. Okay, thank you, Paul. Larnie at 327. Are the cert errors part of the CDDs for our end of year?
Oh, Martha.
Sorry. Hi, everybody.
Are we on Family Feud? Do I have to stop talking? Okay, are the cert errors part of the CDDs? For our end of year 1, we have a cert 54 and a cert 123. Since they are not on the list in the flash 230, can we work on these errors or not? Yes. The cert errors run with the submission. The CDDs run external to the submission, and you have to wait for them to kind of catch up with each other. Let's see. Stephanie, I see your Q2. Writing it down. At 328. Russell, do you know when the certification button will show up again?
What's the latest on that, Brandy?
I think we're still discussing when's the appropriate time because we know we still have some CDDs to resolve. And so a lot of people still have errors. So it may be soon.
Yeah. Possibly.
Eric at 331, speed of processing files does not seem to be there today. Small CRSC file and standardized for over an hour now. Yes, Angela's working with the devs and told them about that, and now they're all stuck in validating or
Yeah.
validated.
I have an update. I have an update on that,
Oh,
Paul.
good, good.
So yeah, so things have moved out of standardized onto the next step, which is validating and validated. And in the last, I don't know, 20 minutes, we went from 800 jobs that were validated down to 400 and something. So it is picking up. They're processing now, and so now the backlog is going to be the post queue. Oh, and it just refreshed down to 354. So it's moving along now. So whatever was clogging the drain there got out of the way.
May at 332, is there a CalPADS report for attendance rate? I know that the 14.1 student absentee report is there, but is there one for attended?
We do
Not in
not
CalPADS.
collect attendance. Yeah, CalPADS doesn't have attendance.
And Rebecca has emphasized at 332 twice that she wants no more bugs, please. Bug is a bad word. Shall we call them mistriggering validations? 333, Veronica's, or Brittany's talking to Veronica. Nancy, I see your Q2. At 333. Serena, 336. Hello, I tried uploading a SIMP extract for 2223 and it failed right away with the error format 2. I don't see this as a known issue. I have looked over the extract to see if anything stands out. Start date, date of birth, and end date. I can't find anything wrong. Any idea what's going on, or what can I do to get this to go through? All right, so F format 2 is the wrong date format. And we do it year, 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 month, month, day, day. So make sure that it's in that format. But beyond that, I would actually need to see the file to validate or to verify what's going on. If you want to put in a service desk ticket, that'd be probably ideal.
The other thing I would check, Serena, is if you opened that file and made any edits to it, sometimes that'll cause the file to get corrupted. So maybe make sure you're going straight from your SIS extract into CalPADS. And if it's still happening, then put in a ticket. Paul will help you.
There we go. Shelley at 3:37 p.m. 6022 was not updated today, but it is not on the list. Angela shared at the beginning of this Q&A. Known issue says fix available. Do you know if this will be resolved in the next update?
Checking, hold on. I don't have all those numbers memorized.
What?
It's not on the known issues.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, 6022, yeah, right there.
57067.
And does it say fix available?
It says sent to
Nope.
developer.
Yeah, because it's not in a release right now. But I haven't seen that 34 in a long time. Have you guys?
Have not.
Nope.
One of the older ones, right? Towards the beginning of launch. There might be something else going on with you, Shelley, if you have one that you're getting. So to make sure that level 1 doesn't just automatically link it, say, that if we at the Q&A told you to assign it to Angela.
All right. Before I move on, we have already crossed the 4 o'clock boundary, so I want to respect your time. If you need to drop off, please do. I appreciate you being here. I hope you got something out of it. The transcript should be available by Friday, Marshall-ish?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll put it in the chat too right now too.
Perfect. Thank you. So if you need to drop off, I respect you. Have a good week, and we'll see you again. I will keep plowing on and see what we can't do to get through the rest of the very numerous messages we have. Okay, moving on. Eva 337. Is there a CalPADS report including 1-year graduation rate, not the 4-year cohort graduation rate? Not a rate, but the 1.22 and 1.23 reports detail graduates for the year. But you can't create a rate out of something without comparing it to something. So that's just a report for detailing the grads and completers. Shauna at 338 last week. Shana from CDS admin said CDE is still in discussion regarding UTK guidance and CDS codes. We're still waiting for guidance on adding TK to our special ed school. We need to enroll these students and schedule them into classes, and my administration has asked that we begin adding them to our SIS. School starts in 2 weeks. Is there any update from CDE?
I don't know if Shana's on. I don't think
It's off
that they
today.
have. Oh, that's right. It's her birthday.
Yeah.
Or it was her birthday today, or oh no, it was today. Anyway, they have not finalized that guidance. So, and if you just want to send a message through the service desk, we can at least track it and get her feedback on when we think something will be coming out.
All right, Shelly and Laura, I see your Q2s. I'll be coming back to those. Angela had 343 posted the file submission steps, which is now up on the screen. Ed at 344, Q1 is posting pause as of 315. Angela's been monitoring that. They seem to have moved out of validated and are now going to be stuck in posting for a bit. So Heather, your question right below that, everything should be moving along. Keep an eye on it. It seems to be flowing now. 344, my Sprig 70 and 77s cleared. My CDDs completed today at 1:31, and the revision create date is 7/26 at 7:27 p.m.
Yay.
Super. Jerry at 345 Q1. Hi, Paul. Hi, Jerry. Is it correct that the preferred name in CalPADS is the name sent to TOMS? So it's on the students' testing documents. Thanks, Jerry. I believe that is the extracted field for names that go out on things that are going to be published. Is that correct, Brandy?
Yeah, so, but just one clarification is that, so yes, if the preferred name is populated in CalPADS, that is the name that is sent over to Tom, but we're only sending over the preferred first name. So if you've populated a preferred last name that is different than their legal last name, that is not being sent over. So it's just the student's preferred first name that is being sent over to Tom.
Good distinction to know. Thank you, Brandy. All right, Heather at 346, wondering if the discrepancy between the 16.1 and 16.2 is due to the fact that the education plan type filters on 16.2 only include types 100, 150, and 200 versus 16.1, which includes all types.
Probably.
That's interesting. We will look into that.
But that is as designed though.
Wow, Sue-Ann, you're very pessimistic on this one. Since I know that we will never get to this question, I was wondering how everyone is doing. Is everyone just a little bit more on edge than previous years? It has become frustrating for everyone, CalPADS, EL, SPED, and FICMAT staff waiting and wondering what will get fixed and what new errors will be found. For the first time in all my years working on CalPADS, I do not have the "it will work out in the end okay" feeling, or it will work out okay in the end feeling.
It'll work out, Sue-Ann.
It will. We're getting there. It's just that there are a lot more strings, I guess, that need to be wrangled into the rope. But yeah, keep your chin up. We're slowly wrangling this into some sort of shape, and we hope to see much better performance in the future and a lot fewer bugs as well. So I apologize that it's causing you that much grief, but just keep your chin up. We're working on it. Corey at 351, I am trying to assist an LEA with the Cert 145. They have 4 students who are enrolled in private schools. It is their only enrollment in CALPADS, but they should have been enrolled. They should never have been enrolled at all because they are not conducting initial IEPs and not receiving SPED services of any kind and are not reportable. What is the best way for them to deal with this enrollment if they do not have N470 on the private school enrollment? Okay, the N470 on that private school enrollment isn't going to make a difference because if they don't have the supporting SPED data, that Cert 145 is going to persist. To fix your Cert 145 in the scenario where the only enrollment is the private school enrollment is to create another enrollment using a different enrollment start date, exit that as an N470, go back in and delete your private school enrollment.
But what school do you enroll them in that second
I would put them into the district office.
Yes, yeah.
Because that is where the evaluations are supposed to happen. That's where the enrollment is held until that evaluation happens, and then they're parsed out to whatever school they're going to go to. So in your case, there's no silver bullet to go in and press a button and fix it. You're going to have to create some enrollments. Then you're going to have to delete the original enrollment because the primary key is now part of that, as well as the school of enrollment. So you can't just change the school of enrollment, nor can you use the same enrollment start date at your same LEA. So yeah, if you need help with that, Corey, I'll open up a service desk ticket and I'll walk you through that. Jerry wants me to disregard his first question. Let's see. If you the student preferred name is being collected. Okay. Suanne, it's sad to hear the sigh in Angela's voice whenever she has to say the developers are working on it. It's true, Angela, you do get a sigh in your voice. Lauren at 352, AB 130 guidelines for independent study changed how we had to handle independent study for the 21-22 school year. Is this no longer in effect for the 22-23 school year, or is there something else in the works for independent study guidelines?
I will be sitting in a meeting on an independent study work group, which is an internal CDE work group on Friday, and I will find out.
Thank you, Brandy. Wendy wants to let Brandy know that she and everybody appreciates you and thank you for knowing what we need. All right, Gita's going to open a ticket. Sean, Brandy is thanking you for the SSID tool. She's very happy. Linda Martin, I won't mention any names. Paul, I'm dying. Oh yeah, Sue Ann, I hope Paul heard the beeping of the bus as Angela backed up over him. Paul, if you were in our seat, you would never forget to press the button since everyone consistently is telling you to press the button the minute you go to 0 errors, lol. Okay, Terry, I see your Q3. 4. All right, looking for a judgment call on this, guys. We're hitting the 4 o'clock hour in the comments section and we're already 10 past. Where are we gonna call it?
Take Kim's and then all of the Q2s, either send in a ticket or we'll work on them next week.
Fair enough. Kim Gavin, 4 o'clock, asking Nancy's Q2 is a Q1 since I haven't asked any yet. I know CDE is watching the situation closely and may or may not extend the end of your deadline. Is there a target date when that decision will be made?
Brandy, you may know a little bit more, but I do know that we were waiting to get the majority of the CDD defects taken care of, and we think by the second week in August we'll have a majority, and I think that's a key milestone for the department to make a decision on, you know, how far are we away from having, you know, good data and errors cleared, and giving
And they are
LEAs enough time.
They're looking at these every single day to see what's still outstanding. So I think Martha's right, although I haven't heard like a no-go date, but it's probably close to the second week in August.
That we'll know more.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, it is well past the hour. I appreciate you coming. I apologize that we didn't get to all of your questions. You had a lot of great questions today, and I appreciate you being here. If you need your question answered, you had a Q2, whatever it was, please put in a service desk ticket so we can answer it for you as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we will be back for our next office hours on Monday, and look forward to talking to you then. Have a great week.